Hello everyone, this is SR7 from the Master RW and finally I'm back. It's been a long time since I've made a video, but now that's all in the past. Today I'm not going to review any series, rather I have a question for you, a topic for discussion. The question is, as you can see in the title of the video, why is manga black and white? Considering that the US and the Indian comics and even the Korean webtoons are released full in color, why are mangas still released in black and white? But before that, you guys need to know what actually a manga is. Manga are comics created in Japan. They typically represent the Japanese line art style and the Japanese culture, and also they represent the comics and cartooning in Japan. So anything that is drawn in Japan, any comic or anything that is drawn in Japan is referred to as manga. Even the foreign artists that use the Japanese line art style and drawings are also referred to as manga artists. And even though they might not be writing mangas, just some illustrations or a painting or a drawing based on the Japanese art style, they're still referred to as manga artists. Manga stories are typically printed in black and white, although some are full colored mangas, but basically most of them are black and white. If the series is successful, the chapters are collected into tankobon volumes, which are also individual volumes. The number of chapters may vary in a volume of every series. Like in a volume of a certain series there might be 9 chapters, in some there might be 12 chapters, so that varies. It's upon the writer how he wants to create the volumes, how he wants to separate the number of chapters in different volumes. It's up to the writer. Most of the mangas are released on a weekly basis, but some writers tend to go more on the details, that is on the narrative basis, and they want to explore the storyboard a little bit more, so they take a much longer time. That is, they release the chapters on a monthly basis, but the number of pages also vary, where a weekly manga has at least an average of 15 to 20 pages. A manga that releases once in a month has at least 30 to 40 pages, and sometimes it may even go for a 50-page chapter. So that's double the work than a weekly manga. So therefore it doesn't mean that the writer gets an entire month just to write a single chapter. He'll release it in color. Even monthly mangas are released in black and white, just like the weekly ones are. Now, the various reasons why mangas in black and white are: the cost is lower, the magazines use very cheap recycled paper and only black and white color. The production of the mangas is faster as compared to the other comics, where coloring is involved, digitalization is involved, scanning is involved. On the other hand, because of time constraints and because of the lower budget of the manga artists, since they work alone, they only use just the black and white colors and draw it out and draw the storyboard. So that's why time required for just telling a story or drawing a manga in black and white requires less time compared to additional time required to coloring it. Similarly, it goes for the manga that releases in monthly as well. As I said, the number of pages in the chapter increases, so a lot of more details are involved, a lot of more narration is involved. So basically the workload, the drawing also increases. So you can imagine, if 20-page chapter takes more time in coloring, how much time a 40-page chapter will take to color. So even if writer gets an entire month to write a 40-page chapter, the coloring will take additional time, considering that they are not scanned. So the colors are not digital and are quite rough on the edges. And the third point that I think is that, as I told you, that manga artists tend to work alone because of low budgets, time constraints, and various other reasons. They don't have much of a staff or assistants with them. They tend to do all the work by themselves, from the line art to the framing to the dialogue to the storyboard to the narrative to the background sounds and everything. They tend to do themselves. If a manga writer is a good line artist, there are separate color artists, separate pencil artists. Well, if they hire those, then of course the manga writer has to pay them for their work. Since the budget is already low from the beginning, giving extra budget to the assistants, the manga writer will be in a total loss at the time. And also, if a manga writer works alone, he has full freedom and all rights over the story, how it will progress, over the art style, over the character design. Consider that if a writer writes some 100 chapters of manga and then hires an assistant some who does the line arts, or some who writes the storyboard, there might be a difference. The consistency that a single manga writer, or if he works alone, even if he puts the manga on a hiatus, when it returns, the consistency of the storyline is maintained. Considering the long-running mangas like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Hajime no Ippo, and Detective Conan, these are some of the long-running mangas, and the story has been quite consistent, and the art style has been consistent as well, because there is only one manga artist. There are no assistants. If there are assistants involved, there is a little bit of inconsistency involved. Like sometimes the story might be way too good, or sometimes it might be a little bit worse. Sometimes there might be differences in the character designs and in the art styles. If there's a difference in art style, we get to know immediately that a different different manga artist is working, and that the manga writer has hired an assistant to the line arts and coloring. It's different stuff altogether. It's a different profession. It has nothing to do with line art. It doesn't mean that if a manga artist is good at drawing line arts, he will be good in coloring, because most of the times they only color the chapters. If a manga chapter is new, that means the first chapter, the first couple of pages are colored, or if for commemoration, if it gets an anime adaptation, or if it has a lot of chapters and it's making it a volume, then they release colored chapters on those occasions. Basically, the cover is colored and a couple of chapters, and of course, if the manga is ending, they also commemorate it with a colored chapter. Sometimes they go for a couple of pages colored and then they keep it black and white as usual, or sometimes like how Masashi Kishimoto, to commemorate the ending of Naruto, the entire chapter was fully colored. On the other hand, while Tite Kubo writing Bleach, in the last chapter he just kept 2 or 3 pages colored, while the rest of them were black and white. If a new series is starting, then definitely the cover is colored, a couple of pages are colored. If a volume is being created, then to commemorate the creation of the volume, the next chapter, which is not part of the first or the second volume, will have a color cover. Some of the pages will be colored. So based on that, and of course, to celebrate, if a series gets an anime adaptation, to celebrate it, they also do that. Like Gintama on various occasions has done it. And if a second season is coming out, or they generally do the coloring on those occasions. But if you see, the difference is quite visible when the manga artists themselves color it. The colors are not defined. I mean, the colors, yeah, they're perfect and rough, but sometimes there is variation in the colors, like the hairstyle, the radiance of the color. There is a slight variation. It's not that much defined how it is in anime or when it is released in volume and digitalized. There is a difference in the color shading. Now the US comics, the Indian comics, they are also getting cheaper. But why? Manga is still black and white, we all know. First, I already told you that time constraint, they have a limited time period, and the second thing is that they work alone, so that's a lot of work. Like in a US comic or an Indian comic, there are various departments. In a manga, only one artist does all the entire stuff, so that he may maintain consistency. Sometimes it is also taken in a different way if the budget is not enough. Yeah, definitely if it gets a game adaptation, if it gets an anime adaptation, and the writer is also involved in those stuffs, then definitely the manga writer is in profit. But if it's just the manga, trust me, the profit is not that much, the budget is not that much, and sometimes there are health issues as well. For example, Yoshiro Tagashi, who is currently working on Hunter x Hunter, put the manga on hiatus because of deterioration in health. Every manga artist has its individual art style. It's quite visible. You can just say it that this thing has been drawn by Masashi Kishimoto, it's the work of Akira Toriyama, it's been done by Rumiko Takahashi, but the budget and the time constraints are the main reason why mangas are in black and white rather than color. Most of the manga readers or the comic readers say that manga and comic are totally different, but I'll say no, manga is just another comic. So I agree to disagree that comics are different mangas or vice versa, but I rather say that mangas are nothing but comics, referring to the Japanese art style. That's the only difference. So that was it, guys, for today. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Do drop a like and subscribe to the channel, The Master RW, and don't forget to ring the bell to get notified for further videos. Till then, this is SR7 signing off, and have a nice day.